Upstairs, downstairs, episode 2, production number 1600, date recorded 4673, take 1.
Edward, is Captain James going into the city this morning?
Yes, Mrs. Bridges.
Oh, well, he wants his breakfast prompt then. Will we turn that toast? You know the master doesn't like it too well done.
Yes, Mrs. Bridges.
And for goodness sake, stop snivelling. Have you cleared away our breakfast things yet?
No, Mrs. Bridges, I always do that after I've...
Well, go and do it now. Go on.
Oh.
That girl. Carrying on like that. Anybody... I don't suppose she exchanged more than 24 words with her ladyship in the whole of her life.
Toast burning.
Oh, no, no, no. Any more news, Miss Trucks?
Not since the shipping company telephoned last night, Mrs. Bridges. We must presume that they've perished. Good morning, Miss Forrest.
Good morning, Mr. Bellamy.
I found those papers that Lord Londoner has sent. I put them on the table.
Yes, I was just returning them. Do you want...
No, I'll add a personal note at the end.
Sir.
Are all these letters for me?
Yes. I wondered if you would like me to have some printed cards of acknowledgement made.
Acknowledgement?
Of the letters.
No, certainly not. I shall answer them all personally.
Then perhaps I should order some black-edge stationery?
Yes, I suppose so. No, thank you.
Father? Good morning, Miss Forrest.
Good morning, Captain Bellamy.
I'm off now, Father. Are you sure you won't join me for lunch in the city?
No, I think I'll have lunch at my club.
Right.
Will you be home for dinner, sir?
Is my father dining at home?
I believe so, sir. The master has not said anything to the contrary.
And I will too.
Very good, sir. The publishers want an index. I thought that was their responsibility.
Well, would you like me to make out a list of subjects in alphabetical order, and then you could see if it covered the most important points?
Yes, very well.
About the appendixes.
Appendices. The plural of appendix is appendices.
Yes. Well, you did say you would decide which of the correspondence would go in as an appendix.
What?
Perhaps you'd rather not be bothered with that just now.
No, it's got to be done. I want the book out as soon as possible, as a tribute. I want the book published as soon as possible.
Thank you, Edward. Contraption. I'd just as soon use a dustpan and brush. All right, I'll manage.
Funny, Glenn.
Oh, thanks. Can you wait? Marconigram, Mr. Hudson. For the master. Here, Rose, do you think that could be...
The conversation between Lord Southwell and Mr. Shaman
sir.
about the...
It's a Marconigram for you.
It's from the White Star Line. We regret to confirm Lady Marjorie Bellamy and Maud Roberts unaccounted for. Presumed drowned. Well, at least we know now.
See, what I can't understand is how a great big ship like that could go down. Not just in a little iceberg.
It was not a little iceberg, Rose. From all accounts, it was nearly as tall as the ship.
But what I mean is, it seems so... I mean, we build the biggest ship in the world, and we say, it's so big there ain't anything can make it go down. And then along comes this iceberg.
I believe it was a captain who said even God himself could not sink the ship.
Tempting Providence.
Indeed it was, Mrs. Bridget.
Well,
Perhaps it may serve to remind us that we live in a transitory world, and that in human affairs nothing is certain.
Thank you, Mrs. Bridges.
what's this?
More tea, please, Mrs. Bridges.
You've had 2 already.
Well, Rose has had 3.
2 cups is quite enough for you. You keep your place, my girl.
Have you heard about the Marconigram, sir?
Yes. My father back yet, Edward?
No, sir, not yet.
You're still here.
I've nearly finished. It must be dreadfully annoying for you to hear me tapping away.
No, I like it. The house is so empty.
Yes.
Would you do me a favour?
Well,
Have a glass of sherry with me before you go.
oh no, really, thank you.
Please.
I mustn't stay long.
Oh, for goodness sake, leave that beastly typewriting machine and come here.
Don't call it a beastly typewriting machine. It's my good friend. It makes me independent.
Oh, excuse me, sir. Do you know what time the master will be in?
He said he was going to the House of Commons and then dining out.
Dining out?
Mr. Bellamy informed you, miss, that he would be dining out.
Yes, when he telephoned.
If you'd only mentioned it to me, miss, I could have told Mrs. Bridges, and she could have modified her plans for dinner.
I'm sorry, I thought you knew. Oh, dear. You see, he didn't telephone about that at all. It was something about the index. And he just mentioned that he was dining with Lady Marjorie's aunt to break the news to her. And he wouldn't be home before I left. If I'd thought Hudson didn't know,
Don't worry about Hudson. He's always getting miffed about something.
Yes. I suppose they must all be very upset and unsettled.
Yes, I suppose.
But I've made Phillips de Beau Talleyrand the master's favourite. I made it specially to tempt his appetite. I do think he might have let us know.
It seems the master did inform Miss Forrest, Mrs. Bridges, but she didn't think to mention it.
Well, she's not stopping to dinner, I suppose. Perhaps she's got her eye on my best Phillips de Beau.
To the best of my belief, Mrs. Bridges, Miss Forrest is not staying.
Well, how comes this, then? What's she doing drinking sherry with Captain James?
Tell me, do your parents approve of your working?
Well, since you ask me,
Which you think I shouldn't.
I think they would prefer that I just lived at home.
But you think a woman should be free.
Free, no. Well, everyone has obligations, but the obligations should be reasonable.
And living at home isn't.
Have you ever lived in Wimbledon?
No, I haven't.
Washing Mother's best china for her at-home days, and turning Father's shirt collars and cuffs, and cutting sandwiches with a tennis club tease. Oh, it was all right when I was younger, but
Now you prefer to be a typewriter.
at some point, someone has got to decide whether the typewriter is the machine or the woman who operates it.
Oh, very good at avoiding questions.
Am I?
What, eh?
No, thank you.
You still haven't answered.
I've forgotten what you asked me.
Whether you always wanted to be, for work, a typewriter.
Well, we all have to compromise, you know. My father, he wanted to be a chartered accountant, but he couldn't afford the training and the examinations.
And what does he do?
Oh, he's an accountant, but not a chartered accountant. He works for a small shipping firm, the Coastal Steamship Company. He's been there 40 years, ever since he was 17. It is frightening, really,
Frightening?
to have settled for so little. He took the job because it would bring in some money, and it's gone on bringing in some money, but he's never gone beyond that.
Perhaps it's as well not to be too ambitious. My father's ambitious, but being a parson's son, he has a conscience as well. And that makes things difficult for him.
What about you?
Me?
Are you ambitious?
No, I'm nothing much. That's the trouble.
I think you're sweet-natured.
I assure you, I'm no such thing. Does that mean you like me?
I think I've answered quite enough questions for one evening. Good night.
Thank you for keeping me company, Hazel.
Hazel,
Yes, Mother.
I was just beginning to get worried. Where have you been? Is that strong liquor I smell?
I had a sherry before I left.
With your employer?
No,
That wasn't very wise, was it?
no, not with Mr. Bellamy. With Captain Bellamy, his son.
Hazel, I don't think you should see too much of him. You can't be too careful in your position. Well, you'd better get ready for dinner, dear. I told Elsie to bring it in as soon as I rang.
I'm sorry I'm late.
And there's an account here of the Titanic inquiry in America.
Yes, Father's been reading to me about it. Do you know they hadn't enough lifeboats for everybody? I think that's dreadful.
My dear, it's a matter of economics. Lifeboats take up a lot of deck space. If they had lifeboats for everyone on board, there wouldn't be any room on deck for the first-class passengers.
No, dear. I suppose not.
Well, they couldn't carry the steerage passengers at the low rates they do, unless the first-class passengers were prepared to pay luxury prices. And you can't expect them to do that without luxury conditions. It's all a matter of money.
There's the soup. All right, Elsie, I'm coming.
Well, dear, come along.
I've no wish to intrude, but it occurred to me that you'd need to consider your position. I hadn't really thought about it. I think you're sure. You're familiar, of course, with the terms of Lady Marjorie's will, which were to a large extent conditioned by the terms of the marriage settlement.
Yes.
But I wonder if you're fully aware of the consequences of its provisions. The main source of income for yourself and your late wife has been the interest on the £100,000 of the marriage settlement. That, of course, was tied to the children and is now inherited by James and Elizabeth in equal parts of £50,000.
Yes, of course.
Your own personal income is not large.
I'm aware of that, Geoffrey. Hardly enough to maintain this household as it should be.
No. I'm afraid the inevitable result of marrying into one of the great families is that one tends to
Live beyond one's means. Yes, it was very stupid of me not to have considered. You see, I never thought of it as her money or my money. We always planned our expenditure together, according to our joint means.
Naturally so. In any ordinary marriage, the husband and wife sink or swim together. I'm so sorry. Do forgive me.
I wish to God we had. We are talking about money.
Yes.
But it seems I shall have to consider my future.
Will you continue in politics?
I don't know if I can afford to. At least if I do, I shall be able to follow my own conscience without being hampered by considerations of Lady Southwold's patronage.
Well, I must be on my way. Of course, the lease of this house will be yours. It was made over to you, Lady Marjorie, under a deed of gift, so naturally it will now belong to you. So if things do get difficult, you can always sell the house, get rid of your servants, and rent a flat somewhere. So don't be too downhearted, old chap. Goodbye to you.
There have been several matters lately in which I found myself agreeing with the government and differing with my own party. The Parliament Act, Home Rule.
You wouldn't cross the floor.
I thought about it.
Father, you couldn't possibly. Not put you in the company of the hooligans. People like Winston Churchill who are simply out for their own ends.
I know a lot of people dislike Winston.
He's a cad, apart from anything else.
But at least he has the courage of his convictions.
Don't you think you owe something to the people who elected you? And to the family?
I haven't decided anything yet. I just felt I ought to warn you that with the third reading of the Home Rule Bill coming up...
You're not going to vote with the Liberals.
Yes, I probably shall.
I hardly think that Mother would have liked that.
Good morning. It's Mr. Stanley-Brass.
Oh, drat. Come for his money and I haven't got it. Come in, Mr. Stanley-Brass.
Morning, Mrs. British.
Good morning, Mr. Stanley-Brass. I have your book here. I didn't like to bother the master with it last week. We've had a tragedy in this house, you know.
Yes, indeed, very sad. Give my condolences. She was such a fine lady.
She was indeed, yes. Well, I'll have your money ready for you tomorrow, Mr. Stanley-Brass, and send it round. Ruby can take it.
Let's
Give
go.
her something to do.
No hurry, Mrs. Bridges, no hurry at all. How are the chum-chops?
Oh, they ate lovely.
Now, what can I send you round today?
Well, the master, Mr. James, is going to be out. But if you had a nice bit of brisket, we could have braised beef for our dinner tonight.
Nice piece of brisket, about £6.
Yeah. Oh, well, not too big. £4 will be all right.
4 to 5 pounds, right. Now, how about some nice pork chops for your supper tonight?
Oh.
Got to give you strength up, you know, in these sad times.
Oh, all right, Mrs. Sandbus. 5 nice pork chops.
Nice pork chops.
Not too fat, mind.
Not too fat, it is. Good day, Mr.
Good
Bridges.
day, Mr. Sandbus. Ruby?
No, I must write that out in longhand.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me, sir. You asked to see Mrs. Bridges' housekeeping books.
Oh, yes, Hudson, put them on the desk, will you? I'll attend to them later.
Very good, sir.
Oh, Mrs. Bridges, just look at this sheet. Captain James must have put his foot right through it. We've got on a new one.
You'll have to do that sides to middle.
You don't know when Miss Thorpe's coming, do you? There's an awful lot of sewing up there.
Her ladyship usually writes. Used to write to her when she wanted to.
Yes. Oh, I'm going to put it in a rag bag. I ain't sleeping on sides to middle sheets. Oh, Mrs. Bridges,
Eh?
you're getting ever so short on lunch, sugar and tea.
Oh, all right. I'll ask Miss Hudson to get the key of the big store cupboard from the master.
There. Miss Forrest. Would you please type that and send it to the Times?
Yes, Mr. Bellamy.
Well, Lady Southwell wanted a memorial service in Westminster Abbey, but I'm sure my wife would prefer her own parish church. Oh, these letters can have a card of acknowledgement.
Very well.
These, I'm afraid, I must answer with my own hand.
Lady Marjorie must have been greatly loved.
Yes. Yes. Oh, but as that time, I must fly. I have a meeting at the House.
Yes. It's an important day today, isn't it? The third reading of the Home Rule Bill.
Are you interested in politics?
Only since I've been working for Member of Parliament. You know,
Yes.
doesn't matter.
You're very cautious, Miss Forrest.
I don't mean to be.
What were you going to say?
It's just that I never realised that members of Parliament were real people before.
Well, if by real you mean fallible, I'm afraid.
It should be put in the bank as soon as possible, and if you let me have a list of the contents.
Yes, I'll see to that. Oh, Hudson, would you fetch your ladyship's jewel case here?
Yes, sir. Would Sir Geoffrey care for a glass of Madeira, sir?
No, thank you. I can only stay a moment. I had some news which I thought might please you.
Oh, sit down.
Lady Southwold has a number of shares in a large tobacco company of which Hugo Southwold was on the board. His directorship is now, of course, vacant, and she wondered whether you would care to have it.
Well, that is...
Lady Southwold would make over to you a substantial proportion of her shares, and in addition you would receive quite a handsome director's fee.
Well, that is very generous of her.
Lady Southwold realized that you might find yourself in some financial embarrassment, and she thought this might help.
It will indeed.
I have some papers here which you might care to glance through at your leisure, and if I have your agreement in principle, I can draw up the necessary documents, and perhaps you'd call at my office one day next week. The income involved should be more than enough to take care of the upkeep of this house.
Well, this is a great weight off my mind.
Lady Southwold was rather distressed to hear that you voted with the government last week. She felt it reflected upon the honor of the family for one of its members.
I'm not exactly a member of the family.
Oh, come, Richard. If you were not a member of the family, Lady Southwold would hardly be offering you financial assistance.
Let's get this clear. Is it a condition of these shares and this directorship that I should always vote with the Conservative Party?
Well, if you wish to put into words something which
I do.
Then I must say that a certain loyalty is customary in such cases.
Then I'm afraid I must refuse.
I think you should take longer to consider this. After all, it would make you financially independent.
Yes, but not politically.
Well, you could remain in politics and use your influence as you thought right, as long as you voted with the party. After all, this situation might never happen again.
A member of Parliament's vote is his only independent source of power. He should never surrender it to anyone, least of all his mother-in-law. Please tell Lady Southwold I'm very grateful for her kind offer, but the terms are unacceptable.
And you'll let me have a list of that jewelry tomorrow?
Yes. Edward, where's Hudson?
Upstairs, I think, sir.
Well, would you like to wait until we...
No. If you just post it to me.
Yes, very well. Hudson? Edward, what's this disturbance here? Hudson, what is going on up
Sorry,
there?
sir. It's Miss Roberts. We're having trouble. Her ladyship's jewel case. She refuses to part with it.
I'm sorry, sir. That's a bit. You're not going to have it. You're not going to have it.
Roberts, I am glad you're here. We need your help. Lady Marjorie left a list of her jewellery, and you're the only one who can tell us whether it's all there or not. Now, Lady Marjorie left a spare key with the master, and she wanted you to open the jewel case. Now, I have the list and the key. I wonder, would you open the case for us?
Well, that's what her ladyship wanted.
Yes, it is. Rose will hold the case steady for you. Won't you, Rose? Yes, I will, miss.
Lady. My lady. I tried to save her. I tried to save her.
Of course you did.
I tried to.
Robert. Oh, Robert. It's all right, Robert.
Would you care for a cup of coffee, Miss Forrest?
Oh, yes, please, Mr. Hudson.
Just Hudson, yes. Would you care for it in here or in the morning room?
In here, please.
Very good, Miss. Rose, in here, if you please.
Thank you, Rose. Excuse me, miss. Do you think you could write and ask the sewing woman to come next week? Only there's an awful lot of sheets and that need mending. Yes. Very well, Rose. Thank you, miss.